Hi. Israel may not exist in 2080. And no, it won't be because of some divine intervention or magic bomb. It'll be because of a complex mix of factors, from internal demographic shifts to growing demonization on the world stage. I've divided this video into 3 segments so you can better understand the reasons. Let's begin with the first, demographics. Israel's total population is just about 10 million. Of these, roughly 7 million are Jewish and 3 million are Arab, and that doesn't even include Gaza or the West Bank. But here's where it gets complicated. Even among the 7 million Jews, there is a sharp internal divide. About 30% of Israeli Jews are Hiloni, urban, highly secular, and westernized. These are liberal Jews who support LGBTQ rights, civil marriage, and a more open democratic society. They dream of a secular Israel, a kind of Middle Eastern Berlin or Amsterdam. Another 40% are Masorti, more traditional than the Hiloni but still relatively moderate. They identify with Judaism culturally and spiritually, but aren't very religious in practice. Like the Hiloni, they mostly prefer a modern Western-style Israel. Together, these two groups form the secular and centrist majority of Jewish Israelis, and so far, they're the ones keeping Israel somewhat balanced. But the real issue begins with the remaining 30%. The religious Zionists and the Ultra-Orthodox Haredim. These two groups, whom I'll collectively call the Zions, are anti-Arab, deeply religious, and firmly opposed to secularism and Western liberal values. Many refuse to pay taxes, and most are exempt from mandatory military service. As the joke goes, in Israel one half prays and one half pays. The Zions are reproducing at alarming rates. Demographers predict that by 2050, they could make up more than half of Israel's Jewish population. This isn't just a cultural shift, it's a coming civil clash. A tug-of-war is already emerging between secular liberal Jews and these hardline religious groups over LGBTQ rights, abortion, gender equality, education, and the role of religion in state affairs. If the Zions gain political dominance and roll back liberal freedoms, Western Europe will likely turn sharply against Israel. It's worth noting that many of these groups also hold hostile views toward Christians. This is not just a disagreement, it's a demographic time bomb. If Israel cannot reconcile the two worlds of Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak, it may not survive, either as a Jewish state or a functioning democracy, by the end of this century. And we haven't even talked about the non-Jewish population of Israel. Roughly 30% of Israeli citizens are Arab, Muslim, and Christian, and their birth rates are higher than most Jewish groups. If current trends continue, non-Jews might make up half of Israel's population by 2070. Just in time for a direct clash with the ultra-religious Zions. As one secular Israeli mother said during protests over religious laws, "We have 2 kids. They have 10 kids. They're going to be the majority here. Eventually, what's going to happen to this place once they have the majority?" Her fear is not irrational. The demographic projections support it. Once the Zions become the majority, the liberal Jews may find themselves politically and culturally cornered, maybe even persecuted. And that's a death sentence for any small state, especially one surrounded by hostile neighbors, constant tension, and now, internal collapse.
The second threat to Israel: American disillusionment and world stage demonization. America has been the major power patron of Israel since the 1960s. A powerful shadow behind it, and not without good reason. Israel provides America with a clear path towards the oil-rich Middle East, and another reason for the support is Christian Zionism and the evangelicals who believe that Israel is a prophetic state. Not to mention the big Israeli lobby in AIPAC. But the thing is, all that is changing. Americans are turning more and more less religious as the years come, including those same evangelicals. Across the United States, favorable views of Israel have plunged. In April 2025, 53% of U.S. adults expressed an unfavorable opinion of Israel, up from 42% in early 2022, marking a rapid 3-year reversal in public sentiment. These are not just numbers, they are Israel's death warrant. Yes, Israel is also quite strong without Western help, but it is not strong enough to keep 5 hostile nations at bay without significant NATO support. Gallup's March 2025 World Affairs Survey found that only 46% of Americans now sympathize more with Israelis than Palestinians, the lowest level in 25 years of tracking. Younger Americans are especially distant. Just 16% under age 30 support U.S. military aid to Israel, versus 56% of those 65 and older. As the years go by, Western opinions on Israel are changing, and opinions transfer into actions over time. Europe and America are diverging more and more as the Trumpist factions in the United States alienate Europe. And with that happening, Europe will not feel obliged to help Israel even if the US commands them. All the EU is developing their armies as self-sufficient war machines, and slowly, transatlanticism will become broken. This will be terrible for the already fragile state of Israel. An isolationist Europe and America, who might be funded by Arab oil money to keep quiet, will be Israel's bane. If US leaders cease to view Israel as a core ally, veto protection at the UN may erode, exposing Israel to more Security Council resolutions and European-led sanctions debates.
Now the third and last segment, Israel's neighbors. And I think this is the most dangerous threat to Israel's existence. Israel is surrounded on all sides by Arab Muslim states who, even if they have accepted Israel on paper, view it as an unnatural, illegitimate Western fort in the heartland of Islam. Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and even Saudi Arabia and the Gulf. Yes, they are under the West for now, but how long can that last even? Some decades, yes, but they are improving their economies and militaries. In 2050 or 2060, once the West doesn't care about Israel, they might all pounce. The Saudis in the Gulf have high-tech U.S. weapons, and by that time probably many Chinese high-tech weapons as well. Israel's surrounding states have a population of roughly 200 million. That's 20 times more than Israel. The only counterbalance is tech, and that can change, especially with Iranian and Arab oil money. These three factors are why Israel will not last until 2080 at most, and 2060 at least.